Hi, friends. It's Sarah, the Fat Culture Critic, and I recently watched the premiere of season 4 of Strange New Worlds, and whew, uh, it's not good. Uh, and the more I think about it, the more there's some ideology in this that is seriously screwed up, and we need to talk about it. And I've done a few attempts at this rant and did a whole thing, and then discovered that my microphone wasn't plugged in. So fun. We'll try this again. So I know, like, the idea of Jurassic Trek is fun, and the dinosaurs are neat, and it's kind of easy to get lost in that side of things. But the A plot here was seriously troubling because what was presented was an act of genocide. Yeah, it was it was an act of genocide, and this was presented in 2026, probably written in 2025, doing the way things are going, but certainly written in the time and produced and released in a time when there is an ongoing genocide uh, that the governments of the West, for the most part, and particularly the government of the United States, is complicit in. And then it is really pretty obvious that this is an allegory for what's going on in reality. This is a take on that. And it is a profoundly bad take on every level. And it is just, and we got to talk about it. We just have to. So, um, right. The episode uh, begins with the Enterprise going back in time to the time of the dinosaurs. Uh, and isn't that fun and neat? But they meet an alien species there who is extremely warlike, a very martial species in the middle of a war, which we only hear about from their perspective. They are in a civilization war. They are from Mars. They're Martians. And they are fighting a group called the Doldrum, which they say attacked them, but we are given no evidence of this. And we never hear their perspective in the least. But the Martians see themselves as having been attacked. They're extremely warlike and see no other kind of conflict resolution, even though the crew of the Enterprise attempt to teach them about alternate conflict resolutions, but ultimately they don't listen. The Martian IDF lady, because clearly, is presented very sympathetically, very sympathetically. She bonds with Pike and is sympathetic with him. And she's seen as, like, she's so regretful that they can't try other things, but they can't try other things. And she proceeds, even though they try to show her that you can communicate. We can even communicate with the enemy. They show us is literally presented as bugs. And given how utterly obvious it is that they are a metaphor for the IDF, that means that they are presenting Palestinians as bugs. As an Arab person, I don't have words. I I don't have words for how it feels to see Arab people presented as bugs. that no one makes an attempt to communicate with. And the only even minorly sympathetic moment is Erica can see their perspective a little bit when they see a crashed pod, and says, even though they are so different, they are just trying to live their life. It's like it's this blink and you'll miss it moment of kind of possible compassion, but like, isn't it amazing that she's willing to go that far to find compassion? But yeah, no one else does, and the writers chose to literally present them as bugs. And so the Martian IDF lady then proceeds to steal the some antimatter from the Enterprise to use as a missile to commit an act of genocide, which she feels so sad about, having no choice but to kill the entire planet full of beings. And Pike feels bad for her that she can't see any other way. And then the Enterprise, although they could intercept and stop the literal genocide missile, Pike has an epiphany that because this is the Sol system, and because in our time this planet doesn't exist, because it's an extra planet in our solar system, this thing must happen, and so he's just makes no effort to stop it, is complicit in the genocide of the whole planet. And it turns out not just the whole planet, but this is what causes the extinction of the dinosaurs. So it's also genocides the dinosaurs and causes climate change. So, oh, so sad the Martian planet becomes uninhabitable too. And oh, so sad that the genocide committers die themselves. But they feel really, really bad about it. They feel so sad that they are killing a whole, making no effort to, and we don't see any investigation as to what's the cause of the conflict. We are only told one side. We are only told that that these people don't know any other way to. This is the only way out, and then we ride this wave back to the present and talk about how well this had to happen in order for humanity to develop, and therefore the genocide of the entire planet of people that we made no effort to stop was for the greater good. Fuck you. Seriously, releasing this now. I mean, oh my God. Oh God. Like, we are in the middle of not just the genocide against the Palestinian people, but against the people of the Congo and the Sudan, and also like the trans genocide that is happening in the West. But you're presenting a story that's sympathetic to the enactors of genocide, where the captain of the Enterprise is an enabler and is complicit, and also ends with being told not to think too deeply about it. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. This is a Star Trek episode where we are presented with an ethical conundrum which has no solution, and then don't think about it too much. Yeah. Don't even try to save don't even, it's it's appalling. It really, really, it's deeply irresponsible. When a person creates, and especially when you create something that draws on this level of like complicated, deep ethical issues, you have a responsibility to handle it with care, to understand how it's going to come out in the world, and to really think about what you're saying. And what they said was it's inevitable and it's for the greater good. It's so sad they can't see another way, but they can't. And it's not like the people who are dying are people. They're bugs. And we've already had an episode last season where they made it textual that it's only sad that a bunch of people died because it turned out that a bunch of people were originally humans. We empathize more because they were more human. And we do. The thing is that actually, like, it matters which aliens you present as more familiar to your audience, which you present as more human. Like, I do a podcast on talking about Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5. And one of the things that we talk about is the way that, because those shows deal with ideas about like decolonization and fascism and all that stuff, like on Babylon 5, the perpetrators are the perpetrators of colonization and the oppressors. They actually look more like us than the victim of the thing, and that is a deliberate choice, because J. Michael Straczynski is a very strategic writer, and he's taking you on a journey to make you confront some shit. And on Deep Space Nine, the perpetrators of the genocide look more alien and more like snaky, like the Cardassians are kind of snaky, lizardy people. And the victims look more human, and the Bajorans are very, very sympathetic. And it's not that one is more superior to the other. Is they tell different stories, and they do it in different ways, and it's like the roles of the humans are different. But it matters, like when you're telling a story about an oppressor and the oppressed, it matters how you present those people, especially in science fiction. And if you present one side as practically human, kind of looks Vulcan and a little bit like the fairies, and then you present the others as bugs, there is a meaning in that. And you could, if you were a thoughtful, intelligent writer who cared about these things, you could do that and then have it turn around and be like, actually, like there was a misunderstanding and people misjudged. Do some kind of thing about learning to empathize with people who are less like you. But although still, when the allegory is this clear, you are still allegorically representing them as bugs, which is something that fascists have done traditionally, is make the population that they are intending to destroy, to use propaganda to describe them as less than human, as bugs or rats or such things. In the Rwandan genocide, the perpetrators kept referring to the population they were attacking as cockroaches. So this is a thing. This is a thing that people on the side of the oppressors do. What side have you chosen? And this was written by the showrunners of the show. Like, they I don't think there's any way to think of this as an accident. This is a choice they made. And releasing a story like this right now, like being sympathetic to genociders, is a serious problem. And it's an issue also because Anson Mount, who plays Pike, has a record of supporting Israel and denying genocide or downplaying it and saying, oh, no, that's not what this is, and talking up the whole Israel has the right to exist thing. By the way, no state has the right to exist. That's just not a thing. People have the right to exist. And when you put the rights of states above the rights of people, there are words for that, one of which is nationalism. So you have the other reason this is a problem, aside from it being genocide apologia, although this kind of connects to that, is the depressing underlying fatalism of this. And the fatalism has been a problem throughout Strange New Worlds. It was always going to be a kind of an issue with them building a story around Pike, who we know is fated to have the, disabling accident that leaves him in the beach chair. Yeah, and this is a general prequel problem, and it's exacerbated in this case by them also traveling back in time. It's the idea that like fate is set. There's nothing you can do to stop it. There's nothing you can do to change it, and that is a really bad idea to bring into today. This is a really bad ideology to be promoting right now. The last thing we need to do is be fatalistic about anything. Like there is always hope. There has to be. There is always something worth fighting for, and that doesn't mean killing all your enemies. We must struggle. We must work to try and build a better world. To have stories that are telling us, oh, well, it's all fated and it'll work out for the better in the end. That's just, are you not aware that that fascism is here in the streets? And people need to fight it. People need to work against it. People need to find ways to communicate, especially with people who are different from them, to build bridges and solidarity and a movement, and just accept your fate. Things are inevitable. It's just the worst kind of ideas to be putting out. Well, I don't know. Kill entire planets is kind of a worse, possibly even worse. I mean, fuck. Like we're also like climate change is an existential crisis. We need to not be fatalistic about that. We need to try and do work and think of ideas and make new stuff and not be like, oh well, things happen. And it's really shitty for Star Trek to be like, oh well, let's just let things happen. As things are the way they are. They will work out how they're supposed to work out. No. Even if there is no hope, we must fight as if there is. We must work as if there is. We must keep trying to reach out to others. And we mustn't be complicit with genocide. And like, I wonder, who is this for? Is this for, people who are feeling a bit conflicted about the fact that they're complicit in a genocide that's happening, multiple genocides that are happening, be like, it's okay. It's for the greater good. It's okay. There's nothing you can do. No. Even if we are all complicit, and by the way our governments behave, we are all complicit, we still have to work against it, and we still do, and it matters that we do. The power is overwhelming. The situation is fucking awful. But Every day people are resisting. They are resisting in Gaza. They are resisting in the Congo. They are resisting in Sudan. Every day people are trying to live. Every day people are trying to find joy. Trans people are still showing up and being themselves, even when with the government trying to kill them, and the rest of us queers have to stand with them, for fuck's sake. Even if it was inevitable, we would still need to fight, because at least we would be doing something. At least we would be going down fighting, and at least we might save some. But I don't believe it is inevitable. I don't believe we are fated to lose. I believe the fascists will lose. I believe the fascists are bound to lose because they are unstable, because they offer nothing but death. They are a death cult. And I do believe that there has to be a different, I do believe there has to be some hope for Palestine and Israel, for the Levant. I'll just use the geographical term, for the peoples there. States don't have rights to exist. People have rights to exist. And there have been people of all of the three major Abrahamic faiths in the Levant, as long as those faiths have been in existence. And the colonizers, the English have a lot to answer for. And the Americans too. And the situation as it is now. The state of Israel has so much to answer for, but I believe that there can be another way someday, somehow. I believe that the best thing we can do is boycotts, divestment, and sanction to try and change the power dynamic, to try to get Western powers to fuck off and leave the people, and stop supporting the nationalist government, because and I'm not opposed to Israel because it's a Jewish state. I have Jewish friends. As an Arab person, like, I was taught, as a lot of others are, that we are cousins. We are more alike than we are different. We are not bugs, nor are they any of the miserable, horrible things that they have been presented as by the people persecuting them. And I know that there are a lot of Jewish people who are opposed to Israel and the project, the ethno-national state that it is. Nationalism is just a really bad fucking fascist idea that was invented by the West and exported outside. And it's not good when it's Christian nationalism. It's not good when it's any other nationalism. And hopefully someday that will be gone. But we have to, I do believe that there is a future beyond that is worth working for. But nothing comes of being fatalistic about it, about giving up or accepting or being complicit in genocide or narratives about genocide. I don't believe in the greater good to fucking begin with. The good that matters is what you do every day. Every day that we are here, every person we try to be kind to. That's what matters. One of the Star Trek ethics that I've always loved, the one Spock's motto, is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And this can be misinterpreted, but I love a conversation I had with my friend Josh about that very sentiment, about how when he's talking about the few, he's not talking about other people. He's talking about himself. He's talking about what he gives of himself for the greater number. Like in that scene in The Wrath of Khan, he could have ordered someone else into the reactor. He didn't. He did it himself. And it has to be mirrored too with the other films, with the needs of the few sometimes outweigh the needs of the many, that many can give of themselves to save the one too. It is what we owe to one another to try and show up for one another in the moment, here where we are. That's how we build a better future. And it won't be Star Trek's future, because Star Trek's future is an allegory. It's not like, it's a story. It's a story to teach us about the moment we're in. And this story, I just can't accept what it's trying to teach. And it hurts. I love Star Trek. I've always loved Star Trek. And Star Trek gave me one of the first sympathetic portrayals of an Arab person that I saw. And not just an Arab person, but someone with a mixed heritage like mine. That's why I love Bashir. I mean, there's a lot that's messy about him, but he's not the best representation. But, in the 90s, see, he was some representation. At least he existed, even if he's very much an assimilationist perspective, but at least he was there. And it hurts that the same franchise that gave us the chance to see an Arab man who wasn't a terrorist, and to have that franchise now portray Arabs as allegorically as bugs that just are annihilated for the greater good. It's been something for the last few years to watch so much Arab death. And so many people be okay with it. It has been very heartening that a lot of people are not okay with it. It's been amazing to see people stand up for Palestine, stand up for Arab people, and see the humanity, but still so many people not. I don't know what to do with this franchise that I have loved doing this, co-signing the genocide of people I care about. I know Palestinians. Arabs know each other, Not all of us. It's not that thing, but I've seen the toll it's that this has taken on certain friends and people struggling to keep hope, and it's Star Trek is supposed to give us hope. It's supposed to try for infinite diversity. This isn't even trying. It really feels like there was barely lip surface to let's try and communicate. And when you're doing that and when you're portraying, whose choice was it to portray them as bugs? And to just be so sympathetic to poor Martian IDF lady who feels so sad that she has no choice but to kill a whole planet. There's a quote from Golda Meir, who was the prime minister of Israel in the turn of the 60s to 70s. She said she couldn't forgive Palestinians for making her kill their children. And they are targeting children, and this is the feeling that they have to kill everybody, and they feel so sorry about that they have to kill everybody. I just can't believe that Star Trek is co-signing this. Is this Gene's vision? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Are you needing to fight against the accusations of wokeness so much that you've got to run cover for nationalists, fascists? It's just frustrating. And I know there's one thing a friend brought up that they thought this episode was maybe a bit inspired by City on the Edge of Forever, which is one of the original series' best episodes. And it's a time travel story where they go back in time, and Kirk and Spock and McCoy have to let a woman die for history to happen as it should. This is to City on the Edge of Forever as this is like the homeopathy version of City on the Edge of Forever. It's like weakened and weakened and weakened and weakened. But no, okay, so why does City on the Edge of Forever work and this so doesn't? City of the Edge of Forever, the plot is McCoy gets accidentally shot up by super doses of drugs and runs off the ship and ends up going through a weird magic donut that sends him back in time. And then all of a sudden, poof, the world has changed. The world that we know is gone, and Kirk and Spock are allowed to go back in time to try and fix what went wrong, to put right what once went wrong, to borrow from another captain. It turns out that what McCoy did to change the world was he saved a woman named Edith Keeler, who was, in the original history, she died. But had she lived, she would have convinced America to stay out of World War II, because she had all these beautiful utopian ideals that actually sound very Star Trek. The thing about it is Edith Keeler, for one, she is one person, not a whole planet. And she is a person. She feels truly human, probably more than any other female character, apart from maybe Uhura, in the original series. She's played by Joan Collins, and she is played with a lot of pathos. She's very well written. And she feels like a person. And you understand Kirk falling in love with her and the huge regret he feels at having to let her die. It is interesting to look at it in the moment it came out as to what it might be saying about the peace movement of the 60s, because she's a peace activist, and it's suggesting that certainly in the 1930s, had people followed the peace movement, and there were a lot of people who were very much into peace, that would have been a bad thing, because they wouldn't have been able to deal with the Nazis. I don't know how to feel about that, because actually my grandfather was a conscientious objector. He was a peace activist. He was a Quaker. And we don't know if there could have been a way other than war to defeat the Nazis. Probably not. It's unlikely, though, that one peace activist would have changed the narrative. But, it was coming out in the 60s, so it was the peace activism of the time and the war in Vietnam. And I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing to think about. But still, because it's about World War II and the moment that it did come out, the writers working on Star Trek, some of them, including Roddenberry, had served in the war. It was within living memory to probably to most adults who would have watched the show at the time, and not the young people, but they would have heard stories, and many of them would have lost people or known people who were lost in the conflict to the Nazis. So like her being lost essentially to that conflict, like there's a real humanity to her, and a mourning and a standing in the place of a lot of lost people. Yeah, that makes it really meaningful. And like I said, you really feel Kirk's loss and the conflict, and it's not brushed off. And McCoy confronts him on it, and there's a real conflicted moment, and it is a beautiful piece of writing, and it is a reason that it sits with you. And to just try and recreate it without really, to try and sort of like pull an Edith Keeler situation, but with a whole planet that you have to allow to die because that's how history is supposed to happen. It waters down the thing entirely. And again, the planet is not, none of the doldrums are remotely treated as people. Their loss is entirely theoretical. Edith Keeler, this is not. And it's offensive that they'd be trying to do that without really trying to do something with it. And I know the Jurassic Trek stuff is fun. And I think, perhaps people were distracted by that, and it's okay if you were, but if you think about this for any length of time, the implications that this story had, it's just so very wrong. And yeah, I don't know what to do with Trek anymore. I loved Academy and I loved Prodigy. They were doing interesting things there. But they just like, they don't care about those. They let them go. And this is what they want to make instead. It's all fatalist, and when they explore ideas, it's such conservative ideas. Eugenicsy stuff last season, and fridging, like the whole thing last season with like the fatalistic fridging of what's her name, and we've got to force everyone into heterosexual relationships so much it looks like they're about to force Erica into one with Scotty. And just when they play with ideas, they're invariably playing with conservative ideas. And why is Trek being conservative? Why is Trek being conservative? I don't think I have a place for conservative Trek. If this is what they're going to put out, then maybe it's for the best that it's basically being dropped by Ellison and the company and all that. And maybe, I believe someday somebody with something to say may pick up the reins of Star Trek and do something with it again. Maybe it's okay for it to go into hiatus for a bit, or maybe we should just leave it to the fans. The fans created Spurk and birthed the whole thing. So maybe it should just be for the fans to be for fan fiction for a while or something. I don't know. Anyway, at least we have good Trek that was made in the past. That feels in itself conservative, but we can use it to speak to the moments of that we are in now. And hopefully that's what we'll do with 9 to 5. So if you want to check us out there, talking about Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine in conversation with one another, not competition, conversation. And I'll keep doing my conversations about joy, and I don't honestly care if 5 people or 500 people watch them, as long as it feels good to make them, to be trying to do something, to try and focus on the joy and try and build communication and build bridges, because I refuse to be fatalistic. I reject fatalism. We can at least try to be kind to one another, to be of service to one another, to try and communicate and build bridges and not surrender and not enable genocide. And if you want to try and stand up and try and do something, I recommend getting involved in BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. It worked for South America. It worked for the South African apartheid, and hopefully, in time with work, it will affect the Israel situation as well. You have to change the economic reality to change the power. So, divestment is one of the most important things we can do. Can push for sanctions, and we can. And if you go to their site, they have specific instructions for effective boycotts. It's not just a matter of boycotting everything, because that's not very practical, but specific, organized, coordinated boycotts are effective. So, yeah, I recommend doing that, because it's doing something. And if you have funds, then please find a mutual aid to give it, because that's one of the best things we can do, is try and support each other. Or if you feel the need to do it through charity, then Palestinian Children's Relief Fund are doing exceptionally good work. So, yeah, we can't be fatalistic. We can't enable genocide. We can't just let it happen. Fuck the greater good. There's no such thing. We just got to do what's good for the people in front of us, and the people around the world as well, but the people we can in the time that we are on this planet, because this is the only planet we have. And yeah, we got to do what we got to do. We can't stop working. We just, yeah. So those are my thoughts. Hopefully that was a little more organized, and that my editing me can put it into some kind of order. And thank you very much to my Patreon supporters. I value you a lot. I don't know. I know my video output hasn't been great, although I'm at least getting the conversations out every month. But I'm about to start grad school in September, so I'm hoping I can still get the conversations out once a month. But I don't know how much else I'll be able to do. But I'm going to grad school to study communications and social justice stuff, to try and be better at doing that work. So, yay! That's where I'll be for the next 2 years. uh, so yeah, but hopefully I'll be able to get something out, at least when I have something to say. So, thank you all, and live long and prosper.